Thank you for joining me today on Good News with Twanda Black, where we're discovering some of the most inspiring trials to triumph stories and empowerment moments. Call up a friend and let them know it's time for some good news. Welcome to Good News with Twanda Black. I am your host, and we talk with folks from all walks of life about their good news, because ultimately, if our brothers and sisters are doing well, we are doing well. We celebrate that, right? Yes, sit back, relax, and enjoy this guest. Joining us today is Lisa Norwood. She is founder and CEO of Mrs. Mothers Raising Sons. How are you doing, Lisa?
Oh, I'm happily alive. And yourself?
You're happily alive. I'm happily alive too. I love that. I love that. Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about your background and how you started and why you started Mothers Raising Sons.
Okay. In 1999, I was a single mother of 3 wonderful sons. At the time, they were 5, 6, and 15 years old. I was searching for an organization that would provide educational support for mothers rearing boys and mentoring to the sons. I had no family in Georgia, and my 3 sons desired and needed a positive male role model in their life, and I needed to be on point with their development also. So at the time I was employed a supervisor in juvenile court, which is the 2nd largest in Georgia. And after witnessing an extensive high volume of Black males being raised by females alone in the juvenile justice system, it became apparent to me that there was a need for a support organization. I was aware of the numerous programs for boys already in the system, but nothing to prevent them from becoming first-time offenders. Extensive research was conducted throughout the Atlanta metro area of the needed services, and the responses was overwhelmingly in favor of starting the program. So after I searched again for my boys, I prayed and fasted for God to send me an answer. And I thought I heard start a program. I'm like, oh, what? So I continued praying and waiting for another answer.
Okay.
And my answer was start a program again. And then one of my employees came to me and said somebody at the front desk need to see me. I went to the front desk and she had a 6-year-old little boy said he need a probation officer because I don't know what to do with him. Woo. So I questioned God, and he told me again, step out. But I'm like, I can't. To step out. I'm like, but what about this? What about that? He said, step out on faith. He would be with me always and put the right people in my path, and he would be my rock. So I shouted, oh Lord, I don't know how. And he said he would move those mountains into hills, ant hills. And you can't stand on them ant hills too long, especially if you're allergic to them. So I continued to move forward, and despite my family, friends, and co-workers disapproving of me leaving my position as a supervisor with a guaranteed income to an unknown income, I resigned from my management position with benefits from juvenile court. And I stepped out on faith and birthed Mothers Raising Sons in 1999.
But you saw a need, and it always says when you see a need and it's a passion, you got to feel it. You've got to feel it.
Yes.
My goodness. That's amazing. When my kids were younger, there were a few things out there, but not many. I tried to find role models for them. I'm a mom of sons as well. And raising boys is a little different, it's just a little bit different than raising girls. I talk to people all the time that have both girls and boys, and they say boys are so much easier. What do you think?
Oh, most definitely boys are, because now I have a granddaughter and I see the difference. Well, I had 2. But, my belief is that a mother raises her daughter and spoils her son, where a father raises his son and spoils his daughter.
So true.
It is a difference. And a lot of times we're trying to raise a boy to be a man. And how do we do that when quite don't understand all the
Right.
what they need and their desires, because we've never been a boy. So how do we do that? So, and education starts at home. So as a single mother, our responsibility are for the moral, social, ethnic values, finance, education of our household. And how do we do that with a boy if they don't have a positive male role model in their life? We need them. And that's needed.
Absolutely, absolutely. So talk about programming. What is some of your programming?
Well, I want to go back to one thing, because I was in a workshop one time, and I got up and that sometimes they have you introduce yourself. So I got up and said who I was, and then I said, a mother cannot be a father nor a positive male role model to her son, but she tries to play the role. Oh my goodness. I had so many women in there. They was like, I'm a good father to my son.
You're not a man. The father is the word.
Exactly.
Father.
It was men in the audience. I'm like, come on, guys. What y'all got to say? And they didn't say anything. I mean, I felt like I was attacked.
Yeah.
There was one woman, she was crying. And then even the host got involved. And I'm like, oh my God, you can't be a father to your son, even though nowadays they do have Father Day cards to the mother, but still you cannot be a father to your son. You could try to play that role.
You try. That's right. You can.
Right. And you could do a good job at raising him, but you cannot substitute that dad.
Right. Yes. Right. Yes. And so talk about the benefits of having a father in the home. We're seeing some of the ramifications right now, but talk about the benefits, the pros and cons of having a father and not having a father. And of course, having a father that's not engaged is just like not having a father sometimes. But talk about the pros and cons of that.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, their father was in their life, but I was the disciplinary one. He was the fun dad, and then if he said he was going to show up and he didn't, I felt guilty. So I had to do something, to lift his spirits up. And I think that might be part of how we spoil our sons, because we're trying to substitute in a way of their emotions of what they're going through because they don't have their father. And my grandson, he got so emotional. He was like 5 years old, and he just got emotional because his mother and mother are not together. And he had me crying in tears because he said he was speaking from the heart. And he said, fathers are so necessary. I don't know why my mom, is against my dad. My dad loves me, and I know he does. And I need my dad. I mean, he was almost in tears. And then my granddaughter, his sister, I think she was like 2.5. She was like, yeah, in the background, cheering him on. Yeah, I love my dad. My dad love me. Yeah, and he just got into it. But it was just his, and at that young age, he knew that he needed his father in his life. And a lot of times, boys substitute by getting involved with the wrong people, and when we do mentoring. And when I say mentoring and I ask for volunteers, I don't just ask for men. I say positive male role models, because they can get a man to teach them all kinds of things that are not positive, and they might not know how to be a father to their father. If they didn't have one in their life. I call it the negative generational habit. You don't know what you don't know. If you don't know, you don't know it. And if they didn't have a father, it's that chain reaction. So if they didn't have that father in their life, how do they know how to be a dad? Because they never had one. So it's a little confusing to them. And I've heard that a lot throughout my years of working with mothers and the fathers, because I think that they are just as important. And one thing that I do when I do my support group with mothers, I do not male bash. Regardless if the father of their child is in their life or not, they are necessary. Some women, they want to keep their children away from the dad because he's not paying child support. He's not doing this. But when he is able to, I think it's important for him to be there, especially if he's a positive, dad. And, he's their dad regardless.
Absolutely. And they don't care about all the other stuff. My son was 5 and he told me he was crying and he said, Daddy wouldn't have left if you weren't so mean. And I'm like, okay. However, Daddy was a crackhead, and that we couldn't do Daddy no more because Daddy was stealing everything out the house and causing drama and taking the car. And he didn't understand that as a 5-year-old. He really did not.
And you know what? And it's essential that we don't talk negative about their dad in front of them. They will find out.
They'll speak for themselves. And that's what I would always say. People say, you need to tell them. I said, they're too young. They're going to see it for themselves. And even after they got bigger, they saw it for themselves. I never had to say one word.
That's right. That's right.
Because when he was in the home, he was a good dad. He was a good dad. He really was. But we couldn't compete with the drugs,
Yeah, isn't that something? Yeah, and then especially with their dad not being in the houshole, and when he got them, he did fun things with them. He didn't have to discipline them. So I was the mean one. I was the one that got on them and listen. I'm not having that, and their father was like, nuh-uh. So thank God, I had to be that strict mom. And absolutely. I remember one boy in the neighborhood, he said something to me because I was the house that everybody came to because I wanted my sons, I wanted to know their friends. Then that's important, to know their friends. So my door was open to their friends. And even if it wasn't their friends, just to find out who they were hanging around. Because to say friends, it might not be their friends. It could have been an associate. One of my sons, my oldest son, he one of the boys in the neighborhood, he wanted to come around, to find out whatever, to be in my household or whatever. And then my son, I didn't have to tell him not to be with him. He found out on his own. Yeah, and one boy in the neighborhood said, Miss Norwood, he said something to me. I don't know how we came up with the conversation, but he said, you wouldn't have had that. I'm like, you wouldn't allow your son to do this. You wouldn't allow them. I'm like, how you know that? He really wouldn't allow my boys, but I guess the word got around. Don't mess around. Don't mess with me. And I would do anything, for the kids in the neighborhood, the boys. But just don't try to steal from me. Don't, lie to me. Be upfront, and we'd be okay. Respect me, and I respect you.
I see in some of your information that you wrote a book.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have the book right here because I hope he's going to. It's called The Manual. So I traveled the country because I wanted to do something different after my sons were grown. I'm like, okay, it's time for me to do a life-changing thing. And so I wanted to get out of mothers raising sons, really, to step aside. And God wouldn't allow me, nor would other people allow me. But I traveled the country and got stories. So they are real life experiences. And I think that's more important, to have real life experiences about, the dude. It's hindsight. What you could have, would have, should have done. But now you can help somebody with your story. So I got stories from boys, from mothers, from men that were raised by a female, or a lot of them. Some of them are raised by their grandmothers and great grandmothers. So I just asked them a story, and a lot of times they were like, I can't talk that long, and sometimes I had to cut. Okay, that's enough. But I just asked them about an experience and to give some advice from A to Z. I didn't care what it was, from ADD, ADHD, anger, blending families, bullying, dating, discipline, divorce. And it's surprising. I had one story from this man. He was 78 years old. And he gave me a story about being abandoned. So he was abandoned by his mother and his father. And then after he gave me his story, his experience with that as a little boy, he just thanked me. He said, because he had this built up in him all these years about being abandoned. And by just talking about it, it helped him. So I'm like, wow. So this one guy gave me a story about him he's in jail, prison for life, because he was associated with somebody else that killed somebody in New York. And the guy did a plea bargain, the one that actually shot the guy and killed him. And he's out now, while the other man that didn't What is it? What is the word I'm looking for?
He was an
Snitch.
accomplice. Yeah. Oh
And
my
he didn't
goodness.
snitch on his friends, so now he in jail for life. So he gave me a story, and that is in this book too. Actually, God gave me several books, so this is volume 1. So I will be doing volume. He gave me 7 volumes. Also, this is from the mother's point of view more so, and the boys, but then it's fathers. I think there's 3 sides to a story. It's the mom's side, the father's side, and then the truth in between.
In the middle. That's right.
In the middle. Right. So I would love to get some stories from men, and it could be they short stories. You could just tell me about a situation, where you from, because we raise our children according to where we live. So somebody in New York and somebody in Mississippi, they raise their children differently.
Totally different, yeah.
So that is important to know that. And you always, sometimes you feel like I'm all alone. But then when you hear about stories like, oh, you've been through that, you going through that, and they give their story. So it's some advice afterwards. So they give me a story, and then they give me their advice.
Absolutely. Tell folks where they can find that book.
It's on Amazon, or you can also order it from me. You can email me at lisa.norwood@mothersraisingsons.org. That's lisa.norwood@mothersraingsons.org.
All right. We're going to switch gears for a minute. Mother's Day is on the way, and you are putting on an event just for moms, not moms and daughters, not moms and granddaughters, just mothers, right?
Yes, and that is it's called Mothers Moving Forward Toward Educating and Inspiring generations. I think it's important, as in Titus 2:3 said, that we, the older women, we're supposed to give back to the younger women. Yes, and get back to each other too. So it's Saturday, May the 3rd, at 12:30, and it's at Hope International Banquet Hall and Ellenwood Oaks Community Cafe at 1234 Panola Road in Ellenwood. And we also looking for financial support of any amount, products or gifts, volunteers. We need those. And also entertainment. If you can sing, dance, or tell some poetry, or give some rap, that'd be fine, just to entertain. And also it's important for our boys, so we're going to have our men there the men are going to still be in mentoring to our boys to teach them how to be gentlemen. Yes, to pull out, open up the door for the mothers, and on the red carpet, and escort them to their table and their chairs, and pull out their chairs. That's important. They seem like that's a loss
art, maybe. Yeah.
So it's important so that they can teach them that, manhood with boys, and mentoring them while they are out there.
That's right. That's right. And they can reach out to where to get those tickets.
They are Eventbrite. And also you can still call me 404-247-1086 or email me, and I can lead you in the right direction. I'll give you the QR code if you need, or you can email me. Yes. All
right. One more thing we just got to touch on is Mothers Raising Sons Empowerment on Mondays.
Yes. So, well, it's 2 things, because we do Wise Guys for the guys on Thursdays, and the guys are empowering the boys, because a boy will not talk about their issue and concern with their mother or what they're going through, but they will talk among each other, and we have positive male role models to give them suggestions and ideas of their issues and concerns, whatever they're going through. And then we also have Wisdom Women on Mondays, from 7 o'clock to 7:45. And if you're interested, I can send you a link. It's on Zoom. And we talk about women issues, whatever, whatever's going on. And it's an open mic, and we ask you to keep it real. We're talking about real life situations, not what's in the book, or, a psychiatrist, or, a counselor. but we are talking about real life issues of women, of what they go through based on their life experiences.
It's a support group, and it's really great to be able to share. Yeah.
Yes, and inspire one another too. You know,
Absolutely.
we want to empower them for their godly given talent, gifts, and abilities. You know, sometimes you just need that push. You know, you need that support. You know, how you doing? You know, accountability. You know, how are you doing on what you started on? You know, what do you need from us? And we as women, we need to support one another.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Again, tell everybody how they can reach out to you.
Lisa, Lisa.Norwood, NORWOOD, at Mothers Raising Sons, all plural, at 404-247-1086. And the website is Mothers, MOTHERS, Raising, RAISING, Sons, SONS.org. Look forward to seeing you and hearing from you.
Absolutely. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. Lisa Norwood, founder, CEO of Mothers Raising Sons. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Blessings to you.
Thanks so much for joining me for Good News today. If you'd like to be a guest, you can contact me at goodnews@thepgnetwork.org. You can watch the program on all streaming platforms, and I'll see you next time for some good news. God bless you.